The smell of incense, thick, acrid sweet, and heavy as syrup, assaulted Rena's nostrils the instant she opened the door to apartment 301. It was a smell that didn't belong. Their apartment never smelled of incense. The old ceiling fan above groaned, its blades listlessly stirring the thick, humid Phnom Penh air, making the stench even more suffocating and offensive. Rena glanced at the clock on her phone. 11:04 p.m. She was late. A small, anxious knot tightened in her stomach. Her phone buzzed with a long, droning vibration. Not a normal text, but a notification from the Vimana App, the building's mandatory and invasive management software. The screen lit up with a line of text pinned in glaring red. The color of fresh blood. Rule number 7. All residents must be present in their designated apartment before 11 p.m. every night. No exceptions. Rena swallowed hard, her throat suddenly dry. This building, a decrepit French colonial structure, slowly rotting, with cracks like veins running down the walls, always had bizarre rules. But this was the first time there was a curfew. She hurriedly slammed the door shut, the sound of the deadbolt sliding home echoing with a dry finality, sealing them completely off from the outside world. "Rena, you're back!" Satia's voice, her younger roommate, drifted from the living room. Her voice was flat, devoid of surprise. "We were waiting." Rena slipped off her shoes, her heart still hammering against her ribs from the rush and a sense of growing unease. "Waiting for me? What's wrong?" She froze in the doorway to the living room, her entire body going rigid. Everything was wrong. Utterly wrong! Bora, the big brother of their shared flat, was sitting in the tattered rattan armchair. He didn't look up as she entered, his gaze fixed on a spot on the floor. His thumbnail was digging into the arm of the chair, picking at it with enough pressure to tear the wicker. Satia, the smallest of the group, was huddled on the wooden floor, her eyes glued to the static-filled television screen, the black and white snow dancing in her pupils. And, sitting primly on their only sofa, in a spot where no one ever sat, was a strange man. He was wearing a crisp white shirt and pressed black trousers, his expression unearthingly calm. He smiled at Rena, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Apartment 301 had 3 bedrooms, 3 tenants, Rena and Bora Satia. "Excuse me," Rena said, her voice wavering slightly as she tried to mask her confusion. "We have a guest!" Satia looked up, her expression artificially, unnaturally blank. "A guest? What do you mean?" "That's just Chan." Bora finally raised his head. His eyes were sunken, the dark circles beneath them like bruises at the bottom of a pit. "Rena, are you tired?" "Chan lives here." A cold dread, sharp as ice, ran down Rena's spine, defying the sweltering heat in the room. "Bora, what are you talking about? There are only 3 of us in this apartment. Me, you, and Satia." The man named Chan chuckled, a soft, polite, and hollow sound. "Miss Rena must be overworked. We've always been 4. Rena took a step back, her hand gripping her phone like a lifeline. This had to be a joke, a sick, tasteless joke. "No, I don't know who you are. You have to leave, right now. Leave." Satia shot to her feet, her voice pitched high and shrill, full of defiance. "Why should Chan leave? You're the one who's strange." "Satia, stop it!" Bora snapped, but his voice was trembling, weak. Rena's phone buzzed again, not the glaring red this time. A cold, blue notification. The title, "Roll Update." To ensure the order of Vimana App, the happy paradise, permanent roles have been assigned. Please adhere strictly. Below was a clearly itemized list. Apartment 301, Bora, Big Brother, Rena, Big Sister, Satia, Little Sister, Chan, Guest. Rena's mind stalled. Guest. So he was a guest. But why were Bora and Satia acting as if he was an inseparable part of a private message popped up immediately after? Visible only to her. Private rule for Big Sister. The guest is not permitted to stay overnight. The guest is temporary. If the guest remains after 0 o'clock, the management will proceed with a cleansing. The word carried a horrific weight, making her stomach clench with nausea. Look. Rena held out her phone, trying to keep her voice steady but failing to hide the tremor. The app says he's a guest. He can't stay. It's already 11:10 p.m. Chan looked at her, the smile never leaving his face, as if it were painted on. But I've already paid my rent, big sister. He called her big sister. He knew her role, and he was using it like a weapon. Satia Rina turned to the younger girl, her voice pleading. Help me! Tell him! We can't break the rules, you know that. Satia crossed her arms, pouting, her eyes full of challenge. I don't care. I like Chan here, he's better than you. Another private message. Just one line. Do not trust the little sister. The little sister always wants to keep the guest. Rina stared at Satia. The girl was smiling at Chan, a smile of genuine, deep affection, a complete contrast to her attitude towards Rena. Rena turned to Bora. Big brother, you are the big brother. You have to handle this. The rules say he has to go. Bora closed his eyes, his whole body shaking. The ceiling fan's crick-crick-crick was a relentless lament. The distant rattle of a tuk-tuk drifted in. The smell of incense was so thick, she could almost taste its bitterness on her tongue. Bora? Rina pressed. I don't know, Bora whispered, his voice laced with desperation. I don't know what to do, Rena. The app, ... It's not giving me an option. Useless, Rina hissed, fear turning to anger. She looked directly at Chan. You heard him. You have to go right now. Now. Chan sighed, a long theatrical sigh, and stood up. He was taller than Rena had realized, his shadow stretching across the floor, swallowing a patch of the water-stained wall in the dim light. If you insist. He walked toward the door. Rina let out a small sigh of relief, feeling a sliver of hope. As Chan passed Satia, the girl suddenly grabbed his hand, clutching it tightly. Don't go. Satia, let him go, Rina commanded, her voice sharp. No, Satia shrieked, tears streaming down her face, but her eyes flashed with something defiant. You did this last time, too. You always make them leave. Last time. Rina was stunned. What are you talking? Her phone buzzed. A blazing red rule. Rule number 4. Residents are strictly forbidden from acting aggressively or obstructing a guest's departure. At the same instant, Sathia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then threw it onto the sofa in disgust. I don't care. You're going to get us all killed, Rena screamed, panic beginning to flood her, paralyzing her reason. She lunged forward, trying to pry Sathia's fingers off Chan. But though tiny, was unnaturally strong, as if an invisible force aided her. She clung to Chan, and now she was simultaneously screaming and laughing. Bora! Do something! Bora shot to his feet, his face pale. Stop it! Both of you! But it was too late. A deep, heavy bong sound echoed from the old intercom speaker mounted in the corner of the ceiling. The sound wasn't electronic. It sounded like a fractured bronze temple bell, heavy and dead. The hallway light outside their door snapped off, plunging the doorway into a solid blackness. The apartment fell eerily silent, the only sounds being Sathia's choked sobs and the creak-creak-creak of the fan, which now sounded like a prayer for the dead. Rena's phone screen blazed to life. Warning. Rule number 4 has been violated. The management is en route. Please prepare for cleansing. No. Rena stumbled back, her back hitting the cold wall. No. It was her fault. It was. Satia Chan stood perfectly still, his expression still strangely calm. He looked at Rena, his eyes searching. You see now, don't you? You can't make me leave. Bora rushed to the front door, pressing his eye to the peephole. Oh no! Oh God! They're here! Who's here? Satia stopped crying, her voice trembling with genuine fear. The management. Bora backed away from the door, his face bloodless, white as lime. A new scent crept under the door, overpowering the incense. Not incense, it was the smell of jasmine, sweet to the point of suffocation, the kind used to perfume corpses, mixed with the damp reek of old plaster and the sharp, chemical tang of formal. A sound came from the door. Not a knock. A scratch. 3 slow, heavy scratches, like metal nails dragging across the old wood. Vimana management. A voice rasped through the door. It was dry, toneless, devoid of emotion, as if issued from a throat full of dust and insects. Requesting routine inspection, the phones of all 3 of them minus Chan lit up at once. Rule number 9. When the management arrives, the big brother must open the door. All questions must be answered truthfully. The management dislikes falsehoods. Bora was shaking, cold sweat beading on his forehead. Rina? What do we do? There are 4 of us, Rina whispered, her mind racing, searching for an escape. They'll know there are 4 of us. Declaring apartment 301. Registered residents 3? The voice outside said, as if it could read their thoughts right through the wooden door. 3, Rina repeated, her voice thick with horror. It knows there are only 3. She looked at Chan. He was the guest. He was the extra. He was the cause. She looked at Satia, who was crumpled in fear, tears welling in her eyes. Do not trust the little sister. The warning screamed in her head. She looked at Bora. You're the big brother. You have to open the door. The scratching came again, requesting compliance. Bora looked at Rina, his eyes a desperate plea. Rina took a deep breath, the smell of formal and jasmine filling her lungs, making her dizzy. The panic gave way to a cold, cruel clarity. Someone had to go. The rules said the guest was temporary. The rules said the guest couldn't stay. This was the only way. Bora, Rina said, her voice firm, resolute. Open the door and show them the guest. Satia let out a heart-wrenching scream. No, you can't. Chan moved suddenly. He didn't lunge for Rena. He lunged for He clamped his hand over her mouth before she could say another word. She. Little sister. The big sister is talking. His smile was grotesque now, filled with triumph and malice. Bora, seeing this, clamped his jaw shut, his teeth grinding. He turned, his trembling fingers fumbling with the deadbolt. The door slowly creaked open. There was no one there, only the solid, impenetrable darkness of the hallway. A thick black void. The smell of jasmine and formal flooded the room like a tidal wave, so potent that Rina choked, her eyes watering. Management, Bora called out, his voice a weak croak. We are here. The dry voice echoed. This time, it seemed to come from everywhere at once, from beneath the floor, from the ceiling, from the damp walls themselves. Registered. 3. Current. 4. Surplus detected. It's him, Rena shouted, pointing directly at Chan, who still had his hand clamped over Sothia's mouth. He's the guest. The app said so. He has to go. For 1 second, everything froze. Even the fan seemed to stop its creaking. Then, Chan let Satia go. He looked at Rina, no longer smiling. His eyes were cold as ice. Are you sure, big sister? I'm sure, Rina said, her voice unwavering, though her heart was pounding. Chan nodded, as if accepting a simple fact. Very well. He turned toward the darkness in the doorway. I am hurry. Ere. 2 arms, gaunt and skeletal, tightly bound in stark white mummy wrappings, snaked out from the darkness. They were impossibly long, moving with a horrifying, fluid grace. They did not seize Chan. They seized Satia didn't even have time to scream. Her eyes flew wide, filled with an agony and terror that words could not describe. The wrapped, cold, and dry fingers clamped around her throat and waist, yanking her backward into the darkness with horrific force. And Bora lunged, his hand grasping at the air where Satia had been. Rina stood frozen, her entire body numb. Why? Why? Why her? He was the guest. Satia was dragged into the black hallway, her form vanishing instantly. The door slammed shut with a concussive boom that shook the floor and the wall Rina was leaning against. The deadbolt clicked, locked automatically, loud and final. The smell of jasmine vanished instantly. The ceiling fan continued its creak creak creak, as if nothing had happened. Chan stood there, calmly brushing down the front of his white shirt, as if he'd just finished a simple chore. Bora hammered his fists against the wooden door, screaming Sathia's name in hopeless rage. Rina stared at Chan. What? Why? Her phone vibrated. System update. Cleansing complete. Thank you for your cooperation. A private message followed, cold and impersonal. Note: for Big Sister, Guest Chan has finalized his residency registration. Little Sister Satia obstructed the process. The little sister has been eliminated. Rina felt bile rise in her throat. She wanted to vomit. Do not trust the little sister. The little sister always wants to keep the guest. The rule wasn't a warning about say, it was an instruction. A test. Satia was a pawn, and Rina had failed her. No, she had passed. She had complied. She had not trusted the little sister. She had chosen the guest, and she had won, at the cost of Satia. What did you do? Bora spun around, his eyes blazing red with hatred and despair. Rina? What did you do? I followed the rules, Rina stammered, her voice weak. Good job, Big Sister. Chan smiled, a true smile of victory. You did very well. All three of their phones vibrated. Rina's, Bura's and Chan's. System update. Apartment 301 now has 3 registered residents. New roles have been assigned. Bora, Big Brother. Chan, Big Sister. Rina, Little Sister. Rina stared at the screen. Her role had changed. Chan, the guest, was now Big Sister. He looked at her, his smile now one of authority, of ownership. Bora stopped pounding on the door. He looked at his phone, then at Rina, his gaze empty, soulless, like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Accepted Italiano. He accepted the new role, accepted Chan's presence, accepted Sathia's death. The fight in him was gone. No. Rina shook her head, refusing to believe what was happening. No, this is a mistake. I'm Rena, your little sister, Chan interrupted. His voice now, sharp and cold, full of authority. He walked over and picked up Sothia's discarded phone from the sofa. He wiped the screen clean on his white sleeve and held it out to Rena. Here, take care of it. The little sister must not lose her things. Rina didn't dare take it. Her whole body was shaking. Outside in the hall, footsteps echoed again. Heavy, rhythmic, someone or something was coming up the stairs. A knock. This time, a normal, gentle knock. 3 raps. Rina's phone, the one that had belonged to a private notification. Just for her. Welcome, little sister. A new guest is on the way. This time, remember, the big brother and big sister will make the decisions. The little sister must simply obey. The knock came again. A little more impatient. Chan looked at Rina, his eyes cold and commanding. What are you waiting for, little sister? Go open the door for the guest. Thanks for watching until the end. What was your favorite part? Please let me know in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to leave a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my future content. Your support is my biggest motivation. Thank you all so much.